What if Mars was already inhabited, not in the future, not by accident, but right now, and we were never meant to know? For generations, Mars has been our cosmic neighbor. The silent red dot in the night sky. It's the next frontier. A blank canvas for humanity's future. We've sent rovers, orbiters, and dreams. All fueled by one question: are we alone? We've sifted through its red dust, analyzed its thin air, and mapped its canyons, searching for any hint of life, past or present. Every mission, every grainy photograph, has told us the same story. Mars is beautiful, desolate, and empty, a silent monument to a lonely universe. But what if the silence isn't emptiness? What if it's a whisper we just couldn't hear? It started with a flicker, an anomaly, deep within the data streams from the Perseverance rover, a series of patterned energy spikes that defied explanation, not natural, not geological, and certainly not from our own tech, on Earth, in silent, sterile control rooms. Brows furrowed, the signals were faint, almost non-existent, buried under gigabytes of atmospheric noise. But they were there, a pulse, a rhythm, something that felt intentional. Teams were scrambled, secrecy protocols engaged. The public was told of solar flares, of instrument malfunctions. The truth was far more unsettling. The signals weren't coming from the surface. They were coming from beneath it. A new mission was drafted in record time, under a veil of classified objectives. Officially, it was a deep-crust geological survey, and officially, it was a search for the source. The lander touched down in the vast, flat plains of Utopia Planitia, a place chosen for its seemingly unremarkable terrain. Days turned into weeks. The deep ground, penetrating radar scanned, mile after desolate mile, and then it found something, a void. A perfectly symmetrical, impossibly large structure buried 300 feet below the dust. It wasn't a cave. It wasn't a lava tube. It was manufactured. The world held its breath, though it didn't know why. News agencies reported a communications blackout, a common enough occurrence, but behind the closed doors of space agencies, the first images began to arrive. A remote probe, lowered into the darkness, sent back visions that would forever shatter our perception of the cosmos. It was a city, a silent, subterranean metropolis of impossible scale. Structures that twisted toward an unseen ceiling, glowing with a soft, internal luminescence. Streets, wider than any on Earth, devoid of life but etched with the marks of passage. The architecture was alien, organic, flowing like hardened liquid, yet clearly the work of intelligent hands. There were no bodies, no tools left behind, only dust and a profound, echoing silence. This wasn't a graveyard. It felt more like a fire drill, a planned, orderly evacuation on a planetary scale. Why? What could force an entire civilization to abandon a world, to seal themselves away beneath the surface and then disappear? On the walls, carvings, not writing, but complex star charts. They depicted our own solar system with terrifying accuracy, but with one key difference. Their maps showed a great celestial event, a cosmic threat approaching from the interstellar void, thousands of years ago. It wasn't an asteroid. It was something else, something they ran from. Panic, carefully managed, began to ripple through the highest levels of global power. The discovery was too big, too world-altering. How do you tell 7 billion people that every religion, every philosophy, every sense of our own special place in the universe was wrong? How do you explain that we are not alone, but that we might be living in the house of someone who just stepped out for a moment? And what if they're coming back? The moral dilemma was paralyzing. Revealing the truth could cause global chaos, but hiding it felt like a betrayal of our very nature as explorers. As scientists analyzed the faint energy signature still pulsing from the city's core, a chilling realization dawned. It wasn't a beacon. It was a warning, a repeating message, broadcast on a quantum level, designed to be indetectable by less advanced species. A do not disturb sign hung on a planetary door. We weren't meant to find it. We had stumbled into a place we never should have been, like children breaking into an ancient, sacred tomb. The beings who built this city weren't just advanced, they were masters of stealth and concealment. They left Mars, hid their tracks, and set a silent alarm to warn of trespassers. An alarm that we just tripped. The question shifted from "are we alone" to something far more terrifying. Are we safe? By finding this city, have we announced our presence to whatever they were fleeing from? Or worse, have we alerted the inhabitants themselves that their refuge has been found? The wonder of discovery was quickly replaced by a primal, species-wide fear, the fear of the unknown. The red planet was no longer a symbol of hope and expansion. It was a question mark hanging over the future of humanity. An ancient secret, now unearthed, that we may regret ever finding. We stand at a precipice, staring into the abyss of our own cosmic insignificance. The silence from Mars feels different now. It's not empty. It's waiting. We came to Mars seeking life, a mirror for ourselves. Instead, we found a ghost story, a warning, and the haunting realization that we might not be the protagonists of this cosmic tale. Perhaps we are just the next, unsuspecting tenants, moving into a house with a history we cannot possibly comprehend. The universe is not silent. We just weren't listening to the right frequency. Now that we are, we may wish we could go back to the comforting silence of being alone. If Mars was already inhabited, are we still explorers? Or have we already crossed a line we can never return from? What do you think? Tell me in the comments.